A viewer sent me some social media clips, and they were referencing what she has learned watching my videos. And one of those clips caught my attention because it has answered a question that I've had for quite some time. And today we are going to talk about it. Daniel 7 describes four beasts that come out of the sea. You had a lion with eagle's wings, you had a bear, a four-headed leopard, and you had a ten-horned beast. Now, the four-headed leopard had the wings of a fowl, but my attention right now is on the lion with eagle's wings, because the eagle's wings were plucked and a man's heart was given unto it, and it stood up like a man. They all came out of the beast separately, out of the sea separately. But in Revelation 13, the exact same beasts are mentioned, except now they are unified. The lion, the leopard, the bear, the ten-horned beast. But the eagle is not a part of this connected beast, this connected government. And so I've always had a question, what happens to the eagle? Well, if you have seen the video, then you understand that these beasts are nations. Great Britain is the lion, the bear is Russia, the leopard is Germany, and the eagle is the United States of America. But it is not mentioned when the one world government system is in effect. But with this social media clip, I realized something. Let's talk about it. The social media clip was describing the agreement between Saudi Arabia and Iran that was brokered by China. It was brokered by China, and the thing about it is that Saudi and Iran have been at each other's throats for decades. For decades, they have been enemies, but now they have both been brought together, as it seems, by China. Like the peace agreement in Daniel that we are waiting on, that peace agreement will just be on paper, as I feel that this one is, because you have the Sunnis and the Shiites, and they do not get along at all. They just don't get along. So this could be temporary. It's about as temporary as the Israeli and Arabs agreement that we're waiting on. Now, the Sunnis and the Shiites are now together. So Iran is joining Saudi Arabia with the BRICS nations. What are the BRICS nations? The BRICS nations are Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. The BRICS nations have the potential to form a powerful economic bloc. As you see on this slide, there are different things that are happening. The BRICS nations accounted for 27% of global GDP in purchasing power. The BRICS nations has a population of 2.88 billion. That's about 36% of the world population. Now, this is before Saudi and Iran has even been added to them. Now I'm wondering, will the BRICS nations' name be changed now? Because you have two additions. You have Saudi Arabia, the S, and then you have Iran, and I. I don't know where there will be, but I don't know if it matters at this point. But anyway, with the inclusion of Saudi Arabia and Iran, now the population is at about 42.5%. 42.5%. That's almost half of the population of the entire global world. 42.5%. That's a lot. This union has now been armed to control the global GDP. And what's interesting about this is these nations, they all trade oil. They all trade oil. So now the United States dollar, the USD, now has the potential of becoming weaker, which will mean that the United States as a country, the presence becomes diminished. The dollar could absolutely become obsolete because we are moving from paper currency to digital currency, right? Now, the oil in the world, there are 24 nations, the top 24 nations. Out of those top 24 nations, the BRICS nations are all within the top 24. They are all within the top 24. And most of them are in the top 10. Most are in the top 10. And they are now becoming an alliance together. So now America becomes irrelevant. The world will not need America's military support. The dollar is going to diminish.
So, I mean, obviously, if the dollar starts weakening more broadly, the euro will participate in it, and a lot of other currencies with it. But I think that the one place where we have seen a huge lag, and it could catch up a little bit more vividly, is the Chinese yuan. Right. I think that it has lagged for policy-related reasons as opposed to broad market drivers. It's a very cyclical currency.
Will the Chinese let it rally against
I
the
think
dollar?
that more often than not, you see that cyclical considerations overwhelm. So to me, the main question is, what is the point that Chinese yields are going to be going higher that trigger the kind of shift of funds domestically in China from dollars, which are widely held in the banking system, into CNY? And that is the point that the Chinese policymakers don't see a huge reason to resist it.
America is stretched across the globe, but the European Union, or should I say France and Germany, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, has been asking for, and they are moving toward a 10-nation alliance to provide military alliance so that they can protect their own borders. It has been said by Emmanuel Macron that he does not want to depend on the West to defend their borders. They want to defend their own borders. China has increased its military funding. For the last 8 years, they have increased in single digits. The last 2 years has been just above 7%. They are the second leading nation in spending for their military, for their defense. Second leading. Russia has a defense budget that has increased from 24% of their budget to 32% of their spending budget. And a lot of that has to do with the war in Ukraine. But again, you have nations that are focusing more on their military budgets because everyone is now playing catch up. Although they do have a long way to go, considering that the United States budget far exceeds China, Russia, and the rest of the nations almost in total. Almost. Every other nation that is significant is about 900, just over 900,000, and the U.S. spends over 900 billion, and the U.S. spends over 800 billion. So you can see how far advanced America is when it comes to spending the budget and so forth. Now, the United States is finding itself in a place where they are no longer needed, where they are usually participating. Their role is diminishing. So that takes us to the question: what happens to America? It looks like America, they won't be defeated in war, because we know that Israel is protected by the wings of an eagle. Its number one ally in the world is the United States eagle. And we know that for 3.5 years that Israel will be protected in her place. Her place is Jerusalem. Her place is not Petra, as it is taught by a lot of people. Petra is not fortified against air defense. We are no longer in biblical times where that would have been the most fortified place on earth. Her place has always been Jerusalem. She will be protected in her place in Jerusalem for 3.5 years by the eagle. So, based on this social media feed that was sent to me, I've seen that now America's role has been diminished. There are more alliances now coming together because they want to all come and have power. They want to eliminate the United States as the world global leader. So the United States, it looks like, will diminish and probably be isolated. It may come to a point to where we are no longer welcome. Our bases are going to become obsolete in these other nations. We will still have a base in Israel, of course. We may have to leave Turkey. We may have to leave Europe. We may have to leave Asia. I don't know. But some of those bases will become obsolete. We've already been, the United States military has been in drawdown phase for a long time. We have reduced our forces in Europe and across the world. And it seems like we're just spread thin when it comes to wars. There is a World War III coming. And this World War III, the Euphrates River War, it is going to really answer a lot of questions. We have to live through some things in order to understand how the pieces we don't understand come together. We know the United States is still around. We know that they are still strong enough to fight and defend Israel against the world government. So I'm thinking maybe they're not defeated to where they're just weakened because they're defending a whole nother nation against the world. But maybe they become isolated and are no longer welcome. And so we're just going to mind our own business until we don't have to. What are your thoughts? Share them. Let's continue this conversation.